It was supposed to be a fun weekend. Four friends, Tunde, BC, Jide, and Amaka, had planned to camp at Obuko Forest Reserve, a quiet and little-known park deep in the southern part of Nigeria. Tunde, tall and restless, was the group's leader. He loved adventures. BC was the funny one, always joking, even in serious situations. Jide, quiet and thoughtful, preferred books to people, but came along anyway. Amaka was careful and easily frightened, but she didn't want to be left out. They had all finished their final university exams and wanted one last adventure before life got serious. They packed their bags, bought snacks, borrowed a tent, and hired a local driver to take them as far as the dirt road leading to the forest. "People don't go there much," the driver said as he dropped them off. "Even hunters avoid that side." Tunde laughed. "Abeg, leave story. We're just camping. We'll be fine." The driver gave a slow nod but didn't smile. As his car drove away, a strange silence fell around them. The forest stretched ahead, tall trees, thick bushes, and a narrow trail that disappeared into the green shadows. The air smelled of damp earth and something faintly sweet, like old flowers. BC whistled. "See adventure. I swear, this place go mud." Amaka frowned. "Don't whistle, Jerry. It sounds creepy here." They all laughed, not knowing those words would soon come back to haunt them. They followed the trail until they reached a small clearing. A tall tree stood at the entrance of the space, and nailed to it was a weathered wooden plaque. The words were barely visible, but Jide read them out loud slowly. "Rules of the Obuko camp. Do not whistle after sundown. If you hear your name whispered, do not answer. Keep the fire lit at all times. It hates the dark. Never leave the trail, no matter what you see." They all stared at it for a moment. BC burst out laughing. "See this one? Who writes rules like this?" Tunde joined in. "Now wow, maybe some old villages trying to scare people." Only Amaka looked uneasy. "It looks old. Maybe it means something." "Relax," Tunde said. "We'll follow the normal rules. No littering, no wild animals, that's all." Jide took a picture of the sign with his phone and said quietly, "Still, it's strange." They set up their tent, started a small fire, and cooked noodles with sardines. The forest was peaceful, only the sound of crickets and distant owls. But as the sun began to sink, the air changed. The wind grew colder, and the forest grew too quiet.
Night came faster than they expected. The moon was thin and pale, and their small fire crackled weakly. BC began telling ghost stories, waving his torchlight under his chin. "Once upon a time, one man entered a forest like this." Amaka cut him off. "Stop, Abeg! You'll just make me scared for nothing." Tunde grinned. "Shay, you're scared already?" "Not scared," she said softly. "Just this place feels strange." As they laughed, BC suddenly stood up and started whistling. The sound cut through the night, high, sharp, echoing into the dark trees. Amaka jumped. "BC, the sign said no whistling after sundown." BC laughed. Not joke, nothing will happen." But Jide frowned. "Just stop, it's not funny." A few seconds later, the forest responded. From deep among the trees, something whistled back. It wasn't human. The pitch was wrong, too slow, too long, as if the sound was being dragged through water. Everyone froze. Tunde stood, shining his flashlight around. "Who's there?" The whistling came again, closer now. Amaka clutched Jide's arm. "Let's go inside the tent, please." They hurriedly added wood to the fire. The light flickered, throwing wild shadows around the trees. The whistling stopped, but the silence that followed felt alive. They didn't sleep much that night. By morning, everything looked normal again. Birds chirped, the forest was bright. BZ joked as they ate breakfast. Maybe that sound was just an echo.
You people, they fear too much." Amaka said nothing. She looked pale, her eyes heavy from lack of sleep. Jide walked to the tree with the rules and stared at it again. It said, "If you hear your name whispered, do not answer." Who writes things like that? Tunde shrugged. Old superstition. They decided to hike deeper into the trail during the day and return before dark. But as they walked, they noticed how the forest seemed endless. The same trees, same rocks, as if they were walking in circles. By late afternoon, Amaka stopped. "I swear, we've passed this fallen tree before." Beezy looked around, uneasy now. "Maybe, let's just go back." As they turned around, they heard something faint. "Tunde." It was a whisper, soft as the wind but clear. Tunde spun around. "Who said that?" "Tunde." The voice came again, from somewhere among the trees. "Stop that nonsense," he said, thinking it was Beezy. Beezy shook his head. "It's not me." The whisper came a third time, closer. "Tunde." Without thinking, Tunde shouted, "What do you want?" The forest went silent. Then, suddenly, a gust of cold wind blew through the trees, snuffing out their torchlight. They ran back to the campsite in silence, hearts pounding. That night, they kept the fire burning brighter. Nobody laughed anymore.
The next morning, Tunde was missing. His sleeping bag lay open, his shoes gone. "Maybe he went to pee," BC said nervously, but Jide checked the trail. No footprints, nothing. Amaka started crying. "We have to go look for him." Jide shook his head. The sign said never leave the trail, but he broke the second rule. Maybe... "Stop!" BC shouted. "You're talking like it's real." Still, they stayed together and searched a bit farther down the path, calling Tunde's name. They didn't go deep. The trees looked darker now, their branches twisting like arms. By evening, they returned, exhausted. That night, BC couldn't sit still. He kept pacing around the fire. "I'm not sleeping here again. Tomorrow morning, I'm leaving." He kicked at the fire carelessly, and one of the burning sticks rolled aside. "BC," Amaka yelled. "Keep the fire lit. The rule—" "I don't care about any stupid rule," he shouted. He turned his back and walked toward the tent. Behind them, the fire flickered, then slowly went out. The darkness that followed was heavy, thick like smoke. Then came the sound, a low, deep breathing from the edge of the camp. Jide whispered, "Light it again, quickly." Amaka's hand shook as she struck a match, but the wind blew it out. Something moved in the dark. A tall shadow stepped into the clearing, faceless but shaped like smoke, stretching and bending. BC turned around and screamed. The sound was cut short. When the fire finally caught again, he was gone. Only his torchlight remained, lying beside the tent, blinking weakly. Morning came gray and cold. Only Jide and Amaka remained. They didn't talk. They just packed slowly. But the trail behind them looked different, narrower, darker. "We have to leave," Amaka whispered. "We can't stay." They followed the path back towards where the driver had dropped them off. But the forest had changed. The trees looked closer, as if they were moving. Every few minutes, Amaka thought she saw someone ahead. A glimpse of Tunde's shirt or BC's face in the bushes. "Wait," she said. "Maybe it's them." "Don't," Jide grabbed her hand. "Remember the last rule? Never leave the trail." But she heard it again. "Amaka, help me." It sounded like Tunde now, weak and desperate. Tears filled her eyes. "He's alive!" "Don't," Jide shouted. "It's not him." But she pulled her hand free and ran into the bushes. "Amaka!" Jide called. There was no reply, only the rustling of leaves, and then silence.
Jide was alone. He stood on the trail, trembling. His mind was spinning. He looked around. The forest now seemed endless, swallowing everything. He wanted to scream, to cry, but he forced himself to keep walking. He didn't break any more rules. He didn't speak, didn't look back, didn't whistle. He just walked. After what felt like hours, he saw light ahead, the edge of the forest. He began to run, but as he reached the last turn, he froze. The same tall tree stood before him, and nailed to it was the same wooden plaque. Only this time, there was something new written below the rules, carved roughly into the wood. If you reach this point alone, it already knows your name. Jide stepped back slowly, fear spreading through his chest. From behind him, the whisper came again. Jide. He closed his eyes, fighting the urge to turn around. But the voice grew louder, closer, almost inside his ear. Jide. He took a deep breath and whispered, "What are you?" The voice replied, low and calm, 1,000 tones blending into one. "I am the dark you refuse to fear." Then everything went silent. The next morning, a forest ranger passing through Obuko Trail found the empty campsite. A dead fire, 2 torn bags, and a broken phone showing the picture Jide had taken of the rules. The photo had changed. Beneath the last rule, there were now 4 names carved in the wood. Tunde, Bisi, Amaka, Jide.